The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys! This is Media Mash,
A roundtable of Cowboys insiders
dropping wisdom
and offering sizzling takes
on the current state of your Dallas Cowboys.
Now, your host,
Newy Scruggs.
I was going to say the Players Lounge, but it's not. That's tomorrow.
Come on,
but
man.
The Players Lounge is canceled tomorrow. Media Mash.
They might want to rethink some things around here.
I'm Newy Scruggs. Ed Werder's here. Jacques Taylor's here. This is the Media Mash. I'm about to say Players Lounge, but no, because Chris canceled the Players Lounge for tomorrow. So this is it.
This is it. Look around. No players in this room.
This is it. Right? No. Media Mash. Media Mash.
Better still.
Let's ride. Media Mash. Let's ride. Speaking of let's ride. Russell Wilson is now in the division, guys. So it'll be Gotham City. Let's ride. Russell Wilson, who won his only Super Bowl at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. Bruno Mars was a halftime show. Very good halftime show, by the way.
All right. The only other quarterback to win a playoff game in that stadium is who?
Eli?
Eli Manning.
Eli. And that day, Russell dismantled his brother, Peyton. That was a rout. That game was over.
43-8.
That game was over
the first quarter.
Halftime. I mean, it was like, okay.
It was over the minute the first play was snapped over Peyton's head.
That was Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware.
How could that happen to Peyton Manning, the most prepared man in the history of football?
Yes. No, that wasn't.
No, that was the next year.
That was the one Peyton won.
Yeah, I forgot.
That was the one Peyton rode on their backs. He did.
No, I'm not disputing that.
Ware told me before the game that Peyton went to him. He said, "Hey guys, look,
This is on you guys."
right?" He's like,
and they took over the game.
And he basically, "I'll give you what I got."
But I ain't got much.
I mean, what about the beauty of the self-awareness? To say, "Hey man, I know what I got." It's like a pitcher going to the manager. I might have about 4.5, 5 for you. Get the bullpen ready to go.
That's all I got.
You know, I'd much rather have honesty than I got it. And then, crack.
Put it on me.
Exactly. So the fact that Russell Wilson is now in the division and looking at other moves that are made. I had somebody from NBC DC say, "Newy, can you cut us something on the Cowboys, what they've done in the offseason, and what it's all looking like as we look around the division?" And I said, "Are you trolling me? You know what's been done.
Nothing.
Jerry been playing with his food."
Maybe a little bit.
I said,
Not much.
I mean, you gave us Dante Fowler? Is that it? Is that what you want to hear? But Ed, what have they done?
Well, I think for the Cowboys, free agency is judged not by, how many players they signed, but how many roster spots have they filled, and have they ultimately closed the gap between the two teams that were in the NFC Championship game from their division last year, Washington and the Super Bowl champion Eagles. And I would say at this point, probably not.
I'd say
They've not closed
absolutely
the gap.
not. You don't even have to put probably in there.
I mean, Washington traded for
Debo Samuel.
Laramie Tunsil, a starting top 5 left tackle. They got Debo Samuel, the only player in NFL history with 20 rushing touchdowns and 20 receiving touchdowns. Yeah, he had an off year last year. He's overweight, but I got to think he's going to be pretty enthusiastic in a contract year with a new team, with Cliff Kingsbury's imagination. As far as, the Eagles, I mean, they lost their sack leader and their interception leader, but they've made Saquon Barkley happy. They kept Zach Bond, 2 players they signed in free agency last year.
Made Layden Johnson happy.
Right. And they made a couple trades to bolster their offensive line. They've lost some players on defense for sure. But I don't think the Cowboys have necessarily closed the gap. But you got to give them credit for being more active than they were last year. I mean, at least they didn't just let players leave a year ago without replacing the bodies. I think this year they feel like they've done some things to improve their depth. Whether they have or they haven't, we'll see. I think Fowler's the only guy for sure who makes a significant potential difference on the defense.
Chuck?
I think they've set them. The best thing that they've done is set themselves up to perhaps just draft the best player there. Like they don't have to reach,
and that's always their goal.
Yeah, and they do well when they select the best player. They do poorly, in my opinion, when they reach or when they like we got to fill this need, because then you're almost always getting a lesser player for the value right there. So they've done what they've done. It's not much. I don't think that they're necessarily better than they were at the end of last year, and they were not good at the end of last year. as we sit right here. But all that could change if they make moves that we like on draft day.
Draft day, and then one thing that we know how this works. After teams draft, they start to look at their rosters, and then they go back and they just kind of look at some guys, say, hey, do we really need this player? Or what's this player making here? How do we, there can be more people. I go back and I think about Robert Quinn, the time they got Robert Quinn. It was after the draft. And you'll see that they'll have to mine how they go about their business in terms of just looking at where can we get some deals? Where can we find some players that fit our need? Because across this league, there are going to be teams who say, you know what? Now that the draft is over, now we have free agency, this player we don't have to have. And you start moving the players around. And the Cowboys have found people in the past, and we'll see what else they can do. But right now, outside of making sure your special team stars are back, that's the biggest thing they did, is because we talked last week, what's the strongest unit on this team right now? It is, you were gone, Ed, but it's the special teams unit. Do you disagree?
Well, I think they have
group-wise?
potentially the offense is still
position
going to be a strong group.
Okay.
If Dak is healthy. I mean, he's demonstrated they win games and they make the playoffs when he's healthy. That he hasn't been healthy 2 of the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And so they have to prepare for that eventuality, which have they?
Well, see, I was going to ask you that, man. It seems like it's organizational, I don't want to say ineptitude, there's a better word, but you can't go
Malfeasance?
I like that word.
Okay.
You can't go into a season, given Dak's recent injury history, with no legitimate backup quarterback.
Well, they like Will Grier, and he's on the roster. But Trey Lance his rights are now owned in the CFL by a new team. We'll see if he goes and plays there, which might not be the worst option of all for him, although it cost the Cowboys a 4th-round pick for a guy who's playing quarterback in the Canadian League, potentially.
Right.
I think he was pretty close. He thought he had a shot at signing with Cleveland, and then they traded for Kenny Pickett instead with the Eagles. So he lost that.
Canada's the best spot for him. Just go play.
I am with you 100%. At this point in time, Trey Lance needs to go play in Canada. It's too late for him to join the UFL. Go get some snaps.
Go play.
Yeah, get some
play
tape.
a full season, man.
Get some tape together.
Make sure that's not a part of the equation. Like the fact that you don't have enough snaps for people to feel good about playing you, that can't be the reason they choose not to put you on the field anymore. It's too late in the game.
This is on him now. You have to basically humble yourself. This is just humble yourself to go get reps and show people that you can still play. He's still a young guy. And he came into the league at a young age. So it's not like we're talking about some dude who's 27 years old or 28 years old. I mean, he's younger than Michael Penix, the Atlanta Falcons.
I think he was younger than a couple of
Michael
quarterbacks
Penix.
who were taken last year in the draft.
Yeah. So,
But I think this draft matches up pretty well for what the Cowboys want, with the exception of the thing they need the most, which is wide receiver. We'll see who's there at 12, should they stay there. But, I mean, this is a draft with a lot of interior defensive linemen, a lot of edge players, some good corners, running back depth. So I think they can help themselves a lot in the draft. But they got to hit their picks.
I think at 12, and just we hear a lot of different players mocked. But to me, I wonder, do they do what they did when they drafted Roy Williams and drafted Micah Parsons and moved down 2 slots? Or 1 or 2, 3, wherever, just to try to accumulate some more picks in a draft that has a lot of depth. You don't have a 4th. At some point in time, I've got to imagine they like to get that back.
Like people say, the player you get at 15 in this draft is the equivalent of a player you're going to get at 50 or 60 in terms of ability. It might be a different position he plays, but you can still get quality players who can make a difference in your season and get playing time as rookies deep into this draft, and that's why they would want to accumulate as many picks as possible. But I think that there's such an urgent need. I think their first priority is wide receiver, opposite CeeDee Lamb. I think I told you this stat before. There's only 3 teams in the league last year,
yes,
who had all of their 100-yard receiving games from a single player, and the Cowboys were one of those 3. It was Washington with Terry McLaurin, Pittsburgh with Pickens, and then the Cowboys with CeeDee Lamb. So they obviously need a complementary player.
CeeDee and the maybes. That's what
The other 2 teams have already traded for a player who should solve that problem, right?
So Ted McMillan from Arizona is a guy who's been been there. He played in Fort Worth this year when Arizona played TCU, and I remember before the game, Sonny Dykes had talked about how talented he was, and that's Sonny's background is offense. And the kid came out there and you're like, okay, yeah, he could play. It was one of those times where when I'm out there watching, like, yeah, he can play. It's like when Colorado came to town. Dennis Thurman said, well, you already know about Hunter, but look at the other two guys, and they all had the 100-yard games. He said, yeah, I guess you're
Webster
right.
and
So it was like, oh, okay, yeah, they could play, and. So if he's there at 12, and I know some people, everybody's got an opinion. I just looked at the guy and I said, you know what? He can play. And if he's the Cowboys pick, I think they would be happy.
You like him better than Golden from Texas? Different kind of player. Golden's more of a speed guy.
And therein lies kind of what's your taste. And this is where you literally have to go in, hey, Will McClay, what are you thinking? You talk to Schottenheimer. What is it you envision? How do you want to use the player? I just know that damn Ted McMillan has got a wide radius. I mean, the guy can make plays and just essentially, can you find a playmaker? If it's Golden making the play, Ted McMillan.
I don't really care. Just they need playmakers.
Right.
This much I agree with.
Right. I mean, if I would say this, and tell me if you're wrong. If one of those two guys were there at 12, I think they'd be happy. Yes.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Dak would be very happy.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about it. The thing about it for me is you can't. It's again malfeasance to go into a season where if CeeDee Lamb goes down, you can't throw the ball.
Yeah.
Because there's nobody who can get open.
Yeah.
And that's
or if Dak Prescott goes down, you can't throw the ball.
Right. I mean, it's just.
And no matter who's back there, you can't really run the ball in a dynamic sort of way. They've got to get playmakers on this. They haven't had. It's been way too long since they've had a group of dynamic playmakers on this offense. I mean, to me, that's why they lost in San Francisco 3 years ago in the playoffs. They had Tony Pollard and they had CeeDee Lamb, and Pollard goes down at halftime and everybody quits.
Right. Yeah, we got the Star Magazine out, draft edition.
Nice.
By the way, Ted McMillan is the number one receiver that they have ranked here, followed by number 2, Luther Burton of Missouri. Trey Harris of Ole Miss is number 3, and somebody had asked him at the Combine, how do you make sure you're not you're more DK Metcalf than oh boy, the Cowboys gave up the 4th for?
Roy Williams?
Mingo.
Oh,
Mingo.
Jonathan Mingo.
Yeah, Mingo. Jonathan Mingo. Right.
Oh, I forgot about him.
They just gave Mingo a stray at the Combine. Emeka Udoba, is that how you pronounce it? Ohio State guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Ohio State player?
Yeah, number 4. Then Matthew Golden of Texas is 5.
I'd say those rankings are a little different now. I mean,
Booker
Texas
ran
just
4.5.
had the pro day yesterday, caught the ball well, ran, 4.48?
Yeah, see, Bickle ran 4.45, 4.47 today. So everybody's now high on him now.
And it's interesting that the head coach, Brian Schottenheimer, the defensive coordinator, Matt Eberflus, are scouting players at the Ohio State Pro Day. Eberflus has been to a lot of the SEC schools that have had pro days, Georgia, Alabama. He's missing LSU's to be at Ohio State's.
I do
some
that.
significance to that.
I do that.
I think Ohio State has more players that they should be interested
We
in.
can always call Brian Kelly and ask him his.
Or you can send Will McClay there.
Yes. There are other people who are there. The Cowboys will be in a great position. Either way, I think they'd be in a good position, and depending on which players you like, and they did enough research and timed it perfectly on Micah Parsons, where they knew what Philly wanted. If they made the trade and their guy would be there, they picked up an extra pick, worked out great. The Roy Williams deal. Remember Kansas City wanted to come up, and they took Ryan Sims, defensive tackle out of Carolina, and then they went down 2 spots and still got Roy and picked up a 3rd. So
The draft is a funny thing, right? I mean, they never expected to take CeeDee Lamb. They didn't think he'd be there. They didn't think they really needed a player there, but he was too good to pass up. It goes to what Jock said, pick the best player available. Let him be who he is, help you where he can, and then don't expose yourself to making a mistake because you're trying to force a need. But, they went into that Micah Parsons draft. They weren't hoping to get Micah Parsons. They wanted one of the corners, both of whom have signed with their teams, by the way, while Micah has not signed. It's still under his rookie contract. So that's another whole thing. But, one of them's already been Defensive Player of the Year, right? Sertan was Defensive Player of the Year, and the Broncos signed him before he became Defensive Player of the Year, so they no doubt got a good deal on that, or a better deal than they would have gotten. And then the other kid is already
J.C. Horn.
Yeah, J.C. Horn is already signed with Carolina, 2nd contract, but Micah still playing on his rookie deal.
think he'll still not go for the 40. He didn't need 40 million. Think he still that?
I think he's
Didn't he just say the other day?
incredibly
He did say that during the season. Then the other day, he's like, I'd be the happiest man in the world if I got 40 million.
I would too.
Well,
the market's changed. CeeDee Lamb is no longer the second highest paid non-quarterback in football.
as the great poet Fat Joe once said, yesterday's price is not today's price. And that's what happened when Jerry waited around on that. Speaking of quarterbacks, I don't know if your social media was hit like mine as people were talking about a particular quarterback here in state that they think that the Cowboys may want to get because they had a conversation with him. Let's dive into that with Ed Waters, Jock Taylor. I'm Newy Scruggs. This is the Media Mash on DallasCowboys.com.
How do you tell the world about all the great gifts in the Yeti store? Let her rip, Troy.
All right, folks, let's get started with the Yeti French Press. Enjoy coffee that stays hot for hours in a French press. 34 ounce for you, 6'4" for the crews. The Yeti French Press. Up next, waterproof bags. Bags waterproof. Submersible waterproof doubles. Waterproof bags. World's mostly water, so get a waterproof Yeti bag. Do I smell something cooking? Oh, new cast iron skillets made to be passed down like Mama's recipes. Take your steak, cornbread, cobbers, pot pie, and potatoes, and next oval with 3 sizes of Yeti cast iron skillets.
Gear, gifts, and product experts. Visit the Yeti store on McKinney Street and at South Lake Town Square today.
How's Wingstop sound? Crispy, juicy classic wings, sauced and tossed in those 11 soul-satisfying flavors. Paired with hand-cut seasoned fries, house-made honey mustard, blue cheese, or signature Wingstop ranch. I think you've heard enough. Get your flavor delivered at wingstop.com.
This is Nate Newton from Hanging with the Boys, and Wingstop is here to bring the flavor to game day as the official wings of the Dallas Cowboys. Order now by downloading the Wingstop app or ordering online at wingstop.com.
Hey, Cowboys fans, a 2024 football season is here, and SeatGeek is here to help you experience all the action. SeatGeek makes it easy to find tickets so you can be a part of all the touchdown celebrations this season. Whether you're buying or selling tickets to Cowboys football games or to any other live event, SeatGeek is the place to do it. SeatGeek is the official primary ticketing partner of the Dallas Cowboys. The most disruptive idea in ticketing? A ticket that works. Expect the expected. SeatGeek.
How about them Cowboys? Or how about them Tyson Cowboys Nuggets? As we cheer for the stars on the field, we love that we've also got some stars on our plate, thanks to Tyson brand star-shaped Cowboys Nuggets. They sure make game day special, and for every purchase of the new Tyson Cowboys Nuggets this holiday season, Tyson Foods will donate $1 to the Salvation Army up to $100,000. As you enjoy your stars on and off the plate, remember, tailgates and game day have always been Tyson.
Back to Media Mash.
All right, Media Mash right here on DallasCowboys.com. Jock Taylor's here. Ed Waters here. I am Newy Scruggs. So Texas Pro Day was going down. Calvin Watkins was there giving his play-by-play and of Quinn Ewers and what he was doing out there, the Texas quarterback who's led them to the college football playoff 2 straight years. I had some people on my social media saying, hey, Cowboys got to get him in the second round. I'm like,
Why?
Whoa. Hey.
He'll be there in the second round. He'll be in the third. He might be in there in the fourth.
That does them no good. The fourth.
And
might be there in the fifth.
And I said, this is called a day 3.
What happened to Quinn Ewers, man? He was one of the best prospects ever to come out of Texas. He led his team to the playoffs the last 2 years. He played through.
Played hurt?
I was gonna say he played through a couple of different oblique strains. I mean, why is everybody so down on Quinn Ewers?
Second round to the Cowboys?
I ain't going that high, man.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I look at Quinn Ewers as a guy that all right, this is just the Cowboys taking a quarterback, and you guys tell me, we've all covered this team long enough to know. The Cowboys are going to do it on the day 3. Day 3 to the Cowboys.
Now, this is the
way they operate.
This is Jock Taylor philosophy.
Okay.
It's a wasted pick because if you look at the starters in the NFL, now I don't know this off the top of my head, but 25 or 26 of your current NFL starters are first-round picks. A lot of those, maybe half of those, are top 10 picks. There's a few outliers like Dak and Kirk Cousins and Russell Wilson.
Jalen Hurts.
There's a few outliers. If you want a legitimate quarterback, even if it's a backup, you got to get one in the first 3 or 4 rounds. Now, you can find Tom Brady. He's your ultimate outlier. There's Tony Romo outliers. But the odds of you finding a serviceable backup quarterback in 5th, 6th, 7th round is, about like us picking up, Ed's married to a supermodel, but it's like us getting a supermodel later on tonight. I guess I should say I'm married to one too. Otherwise, I'd be in trouble.
Hey, look. You just said backup. You can find a backup in on day 3.
Who? They're all the backups are like former first round picks who were busts.
Cooper Rush.
Oh, he's no longer here.
Okay, but there's an
Cooper
example.
Rush is an outlier.
The Browns, them dudes they had up there behind Watson, who played all year long after he couldn't get it done.
Watson? Oh, you don't want to trade for him.
I'm just saying they had backups.
You need a backup who can play. Otherwise, the season's over.
I mean, a bunch of backups out there with the Raiders. Backup city. Yeah.
I don't think Quinn Ewers is a first or second day pick in all likelihood. I think he's more of a third day pick.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Jackson Dart, the kid from Syracuse, Kyle McCord.
Okay, here's my question on Kyle.
Tyler Slow.
Okay, go with Kyle McCord. You're an Ohio State guy.
This is the only question I have about Kyle McCord, because Kyle McCord kind of reminds me of a guy like Kyle Allen. He's a 5-star quarterback coming out of high school. Mm-hmm. He fits all your measurables. But, and I'm just saying this, based off what I read and what I saw, part of playing quarterback is what? It has nothing to do with can you read coverages and play. It's can you handle the noise from the fan base and social media and the media when you don't play well? Are you mentally tough enough to handle the position?
Okay.
He was not mentally tough enough to handle it at Ohio State. And he went to Syracuse and played great in part because there ain't no expectations at Syracuse. You get us 6 wins, 7 wins, we happy, man. And so the question I have about Kyle McCord is, can he handle all the other stuff in college? I mean, at the NFL level, because clearly he has the physical talent to play. It's that other stuff, man, that set him down.
Okay, I like that. Ed, let's go back to something you and I have both kind of retweeted about on social media when Jason Garrett on the Dan Patrick Show told a fantastic story about Dak Prescott and all the questions he had for him about the DUI as he was going through the process. So what you talked about with Kyle McCord, this is where the Cowboys as an organization, they get McCord in a room and you start nailing it down. So why is it you were able to go out here and ball out with no expectations, but over here there were some issues and problems, and oh, by the way, they won a national championship without you? I mean, those are the questions you ask to see what type of growth happened for the young man. Mm-hmm. Because Quinn Ewers left Ohio State, went on to have a decent career.
He had a good career. He got to the playoffs twice. I mean,
Jalen Hurts left Alabama.
Right. So I just simply say this to you. You've asked
but
a
Quinn
good question.
Ewers went to the same type of program. Jalen Hurts went to the same type of program where expectations start from the moment
National
you put on
powerhouse type.
You're expected to compete for a championship.
Kyle McCord went to a guy who knew him. So he knew Fran Brown. And at that point in time, somebody you trust and you know that's the move he made. Clearly, it was the right move.
It was. That's what I said. And, coming out, he's a 5-star quarterback. Played with Marvin Harrison Jr. And so, the physical talent was not the question. That's why he won the starting job. It's the other stuff.
Are we wasting our time talking about the Cowboys drafting a quarterback since the last one they drafted was Ben DiNucci?
Dude. I don't know why,
That was McCarthy's first year, right? I mean, McCarthy fell in love with the guy, obviously.
He
didn't try harder for anybody to have a career in the NFL than
he could never play.
Than he did DiNucci.
He could never play.
He had some Tony Romo to him, as I recall, some upper.
What, they both
front office person.
6 foot, 6'2".
It was like the same guy who said Brandon Whedon throws one of the most beautiful balls I've ever seen.
Brandon Whedon couldn't play. Great guy, but he couldn't play.
Boy.
How about Will Howard?
No.
Why you don't like Will Howard, man?
I think he's somebody the Cowboys would consider at some point in this draft.
Lot of
Will Howard
a lot of playmakers around him. It was like the Alabama quarterbacks. All of a sudden, hey man, you got all these great plays. Hey, Amari, go get it.
That works for everybody. That works for
everybody.
I don't know. I mean, outside of CeeDee Lamb ain't gonna be much for Will Howard. What you gonna do after they double the CeeDee? Where you going? You holding the balls, getting sacked?
No, we already drafted McMillan in the first round. We got a running back in the second round.
And look, if Will Grier is Shoddy's guy, then hey, they roll Will Grier. I personally,
and here's the deal: Will Grier can be your guy. He can be your guy. But if you have to play in 5 games and he looked like Buster McFadden, whoever that is, then you're gonna get your butt kicked for making him your guy. There's no grace if you make Buster McFadden your guy.
I would not be drafting a quarterback if I'm the Cowboys.
Ever? At no point in this draft?
Not this draft. No, I think they got so many other needs at other levels that I think Kyle McCord is going to be a day 3 guy. So you start looking at day 3, you don't have a 4. So now you're talking going to 5th. You want to use a 5th on a quarterback?
Can I tell you this?
Okay.
Now this is the Jacques Taylor philosophy built over 30-something years of covering Cowboys. Influenced by Larry Lacewell.
Okay.
I don't care what you do after the 4th round. They all darts.
Okay. Well,
so if you want to take him in the 5th round, I say, hey, knock yourself out. Take him in the 5th round.
You know what? Throw another body at linebacker. Throw another body
Whatever
on
you
the
want to do
D-line.
after the first 4 picks, I don't care.
That's to me. I'm just saying that's what I'd be looking at because
He's just looking for cats with traits. Maybe we can hit on them. And they do a pretty good job around here.
Sure.
Hitting on cats with traits.
I just think they've got so many holes that they are trying to fill and plug that in the 5th round, please go. You know what? Go find me another Bland. You do that before you try to find me a guy that even if you take him, he's going to be sitting behind Dak most likely if Dak stays healthy. And
which is becoming a bigger if as the years go by.
Well, that's why it's important. It's not in a different circumstance. It wouldn't be that big a deal because you're like, oh, he's played 16 games, 4 years in a row. He good, but
he did that for Jason Garrett. He didn't do it very often for Mike.
Right.
McCarthy.
So at some point, you should have to assume you're probably gonna need a quarterback for 3 or 4 weeks. I'd say 4 games.
How about Milroe as a developmental guy and a package guy who could play in short yardage, red zone?
I haven't heard anything about Milroe in the last couple of weeks. No. Even though he ran great at Alabama, I haven't heard anything.
This is one of those two where
36 touchdowns in his career, 20 rushing touchdowns for quarterback.
This is where your head coach, and his
vision.
Right. This is where.
What does he want at that position?
Can they take Jalen Milroe and plug him in the way the Eagles did to Jalen Hurts?
I think that's what you're hoping he could become.
Right.
In time.
Yeah.
Is a Jalen Hurts type of quarterback.
And so that once again, this talk about day 3. Talk about a day 3 pick. And yes, you could say throw darts out here, but I just think they've got so many needs at different levels. Because we talked last week when you were gone. What's the best position group on this team? And we all said special teams, overwhelming. So linebackers, they've got issues. And you've got a lot of one-year people that you've thrown at different spots. But they long-term, they need to get some guys who are going to be under contract for 4 years as they start to try to build this thing up.
Leah Fowle's a good player. The free agent they just got from the Bears has seemed like he's been a good player. You're hoping Overshawn comes back and is the player he's vowed to be and the player you saw before this most recent knee injury, but he has suffered an ACL tear 2 years in a row. So you've got to be wary of that.
Maybe get them both out the way. He's ready to go because he was,
but I mean, the corner situation is one that has to be addressed, I would think, high in this draft. That's got to be a high priority, maybe even a first round if the receivers are gone. I mean, who do they take? If the receivers are gone, what position are you looking for? Are you looking for an best edge rusher, best corner? I think they need both of those things in a big way.
So when you say that to me, I immediately think fortify the lines, offensive and defensive lines.
So you trying to take the guard from out of Missouri? I ain't taking on that. Here we go again. We got 3 first-round offensive linemen. Only team in the league. Can't the coach. We got all these coaches they just hired. Y'all better develop some 3rd and 4th and 5th round picks into serviceable NFL players.
My first thoughts still always go to the D-line because I'm in a division where there's Saquon Barkley. I'm in a division where Washington is going to try to run the football. That's cool. They've got a quarterback which makes play-action passing. So to me, I'm still – you
got to know they're going to come out of this draft with one of those backs. I mean, Robinson just is not a reliable enough player, not an explosive enough player, fumbles too much. So I got to think
in a deep draft with running
the
backs,
Commanders are going to go make a priority pick at running back.
Yeah. So I'm still looking at how the Cowboys, when they've been in the playoffs in the McCarthy era, they got put out by teams who could run, and when they lost games against teams who could run the football, they have not fixed that. Also, Diggy Zua helped them retain a player, but
But their best teams in the Dak era were teams that could run the football first.
Sure.
And I think we all get the sense that's the way Schottenheimer wants to move this team. That's the direction he's headed. And so for that reason, maybe drafting an offensive lineman and a back with the first 2 picks makes sense. That's what Garrett did. He prioritized the offensive line and used the 4th overall pick on a running back and convinced the defensive staff that Zeke Elliott is going to be one of your best players too, because he's going to keep you off the field.
Yes. You've said this before on the Media Mash, and I'm agreeing with you from that standpoint that at some point in time, get one side of this ball better, but you definitely cannot keep running out here the defensive game plan you've been running out here because it ain't worked in 4 years. If you can run the ball in the Cowboys, you can beat them, and you can wear them down. So yes. They need a better running back for sure. The running back room is better than last year, but it's still, in my mind, not where it needs to be. So that'll get addressed here, but they have to figure. I mean, what's Saquon Barkley going to do now that he's comfortable?
Well, that's a very interesting question. And I say that from the sense of we've all seen it. Running backs fall off a cliff at 28. He's already 28. Coming off a career high in carries. I loved him last year. I hope he can do it. But I'm curious to see whether he's Adrian Peterson and Emmitt Smith or whether he's LaDainian Tomlinson.
There's another factor in that equation, too, and that's Kellen Moore's not the coordinator anymore.
Howie Roseman was telling him what to do anyway. I mean, run that ball. Hey, joystick.
So, no,
joystick down.
I think Saquon's it'll be fascinating to see what he does this year.
I mean, they ran the ball more than any team in football last year.
And he carried a lot of that load.
And can he possibly be better than he was? That seems like a stretch.
No, because he was treating it like college football last year. He was going 50.
But then at this time last year, we're like, oh, they lost Jason Kelsey on the offensive line. They're taking a big hit there. But
now they got a great offensive line.
Howie knows what he's doing over there. We're playing catch up to Howie. When we come back here on the Media Mash, that wild trade you spoke about before the show. That wild trade.
Which one? Well, there's a couple wild trades being speculated about out there.
This one made a little bit more sense.
This one has some legitimacy.
Yes, yeah, this one made this. The
one involving the quarterback has no legitimacy.
None. Once again, people throwing out names and not understanding the salary cap implications.
Those negotiations are going on right now as we speak. I read it. I believe everything I read.
And I lived in that town where somebody once went on the air after the Browns left and said the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were coming to Cleveland. And it never happened.
Maybe they played a road game?
But this is when they had no team. And the Buccaneers, to my knowledge, are still there in Florida. Ed Werder, Jacques Taylor, Newy Scruggs. This is the Media Mash on DallasCowboys.com.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with pre-game sideline access and photo ops with current players, cheerleaders, and Cowboy legends. You want to stay at a team hotel, attend the best tailgate party in Texas, tour the Star, and talk X's and O's with me, Everson Walls? With Star Sports Tours, you can. Visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today.
Hey Cowboy fans, I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. But lately, I've been learning a new game, crypto. Sound confusing? Don't worry, even us pros were rookies in crypto once. That's why I trust blockchain.com. They make crypto easy. No confusing jargon, just the tools to help you win.
Prescott keeps it, slides with a first down.
Invest like your icons, where everyone is a rookie in crypto with blockchain.com.
Perfect throw, my goodness. Wow, did he ever thread the needle.
Visit blockchain.com/Cowboys to get started.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with pre-game sideline access and photo ops with current players, cheerleaders, and Cowboy legends. You want to stay at a team hotel, attend the best tailgate party in Texas, tour the Star, and talk X's and O's with me, Everson Walls? With Star Sports Tours, you can. Visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today.
Cowboys football and Miller Lite. What a pairing. Can cracks at kickoff. Tailgates going way past postgame. Sunday night overtimes followed by Monday morning swagger. Brisket in the smoker. Miller Lite in the cooler. America's team playing America's greatest sport. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys football tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. 2023 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Back to Media Mash.
Media Mash as we get ready for the draft. Coming up, make sure you get the Star 2025 draft guide right here. Excellent work by folks here. Jock, stop playing the card game, man. Come on, act like you want to finish up with the show here.
Isn't that what Colorado legislators are under the gun
magazine.
For? Hall of Famer Ed Werder joined Jock Taylor and
card player extraordinaire.
Oh, okay.
Now I'm on Twitter.
All right.
Let's go to Vegas.
I'm putting on my chill ADD award. Impersonation.
Okay. All right. Let's do that. The Sports Illustrated trade proposal between the Patriots and the Cowboys entertained the masses here.
I thought this was interesting. Most of these I poo-poo.
Well, your voice got high.
And don't pay any attention to. But this was
a Mariah Carey moment.
This was the Patriots acquiring Micah Parsons. I didn't suggest this. This is the people. Patriots acquire Micah Parsons. The Cowboys get the 4th pick, the 38th pick, and the 144th pick in this draft. That's a 1st round, 2nd round, and 5th round this year, a 1st round next year, and a 3rd round in 2027. And the reason I thought it was interesting is what would you do if Dallas had the 4th pick, the 12th pick, the 38th pick, the 44th pick, and the 76th pick, which is their own 3rd round pick? That's 5 of the top 76 players, 4 of the top 44, 2 of the top 12. You could rebuild your team even though you're missing a superstar.
Who's going to cost you an enormous amount of money.
That's the other thing. Now they don't spend no money, so I don't know if saving money helps. But, what would you do with that? Because if it was interesting because you get to keep the 12. And so for the top 44, you can fill all those needs you want.
So at 4, potentially, you could get a guy who would help you in 2 critical aspects of your game.
And see, that's not a crazy thing because you say
Travis Hunter could be a starting corner and or receiver.
Right.
But you still got to get a pass rusher.
Right. But maybe you don't have one, clearly. 12, you can grab whoever you want there, the receiver or whatever you want. Newy, you got that look.
When's the last time the Cowboys moved a young player of this consequence?
Herschel.
And see, when you talk about, hey, what do you do with all that? Jimmy Johnson ain't walking through that door.
You don't have no faith in Will? You don't believe in Will? Is that what you're saying?
If Will was able to make all the decisions without any help and input, yeah. But that ain't how this works around here. It's collaborative. Jimmy wasn't collaborating. Jimmy was out there, I want this guy. I know this guy. I recruited that guy. I mean, Jimmy was operating from a serious position of strength because he not only helped invent the draft chart, but he knew so many of the players that he was taking back then, that he had an industry
and
knowledge.
His staff, too.
Right. That they had either recruited him or somehow they knew.
Played against them.
Right. They knew what they were getting. So to me, when you talk about doing things like this, and most times when you see people,
don't the Cowboys Schottenheimer's new staff has several guys just out of the college game.
See,
they are somewhat connected in a way.
But they were in the Big 12, not one of the real conferences.
Big 12 quarterback won a Super Bowl last 2 years. Yeah,
he's really an SEC quarterback who went to the Big 12.
The wide receiver coach came from Oregon, which is the Big 10, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Just throwing it out there for you, Jacques.
Would you trade Micah Parsons for that? It's Micah Parsons and $200 million you don't have to pay.
No. How many stars are we trying to get rid of in this city?
We're not bringing the Mavericks' dirty laundry over here. I think you'd have to think about it. If it was on the table, you'd have to.
They're getting Tom Brady and Wes Welker.
You'd have to say
the deal.
Dang.
You'd have a real young team, but I mean, how are you going to find a pass rusher who's anywhere near as good as he is? Like, unless Carter is there.
Well, no, Carter probably would not be there. And the problem with that trade is you could get hosed Meaning, if Cam Ward went first, Carter went second, and the Giants take Travis Hunter, you're like,
who's the best player on your board now?
Shedeur Sanders. We don't need that guy. And now you're like,
Can I flip it the other way? Why would the Patriots do this?
We're not being like that, Newy. Play fair.
Can I play the Mickey Spagnola here? Why?
Have you seen how bad? I mean, they were. I think they were finished. Only Atlanta had fewer sacks than the Patriots last year.
And
they have committed an enormous amount of money in free agency to defensive linemen.
Hey, Robert Kraft wants to win.
Mike Vrabel
wants to win.
Big defensive orientation.
Yeah, linebacker. Hey, Ohio State's Big Ten.
That's a lot to get. That's a lot.
Coach J.J. Watt. He knows the value of a pass rusher.
That is the lot. That's a
No,
lot.
it's a lot to give up.
It's a lot to give up.
That's why I don't think it was.
I would say the Patriots would not give up all that.
I don't think they would.
No.
They'd have to get something back. Something back. But
I just
and we have to mention this might be an opportune time to mention that Sports Illustrated now isn't what it was 30 years ago when we would run out to the mailbox
10
after school.
years ago.
But especially not what it was 30 years ago.
I mean,
no.
I just when
this isn't Dr. Z throwing out the trade or Peter King putting this trade package together.
No.
See,
It ain't
Don
even
Banks.
my man Albert Breer. No, it's somebody else.
This is I just once again I think to myself, the Patriots, that's a lot to give up. And okay, you're talking about giving up that,
and you got to pay him.
Thank you. That was the next portion. Normally, you don't give up that much, and oh, by the way, we got to sit around here and sign a guy. It's like I said years ago when the Colts traded Marshall Faulk, they got a 2 and a 5 because. And it's like the reason why is because back then he wanted this big fat contract. So it's like a baseball trade. You're not going to get everything here. If I got to pay him a lot of money, then I'm going to give you less picks. So, it normally. Man, see. The problem is people SI been sitting around here looking at them basketball trades. Go fleece team X over. No, everybody ain't like that. Everybody ain't like that. So
we're saying the Patriots would never offer this much, and you and I still would not take it.
I would not, because look, it's like, what did the Rams do with all those picks they got from the Colts? Nothing for Eric Dickerson. I mean, it's rare is it people make these big old deals and get all these picks. Rare is it they do what Jimmy did with Herschel Walker. It is so rare. It is hard. I remember when when Minnesota moved off Randy Moss. And they took the kid out of South Carolina. Troy Williamson was his name. Randy. Wasn't even a good starter. Never made a pro, but nothing. It is hard to replace big-time talent.
That's why you should have never traded Luka.
Yeah, man. This is true. So I don't think the Patriots do it. It's way too much to give up, and you're going to have to give a guy over $40 million a year.
They think they can convince Nico to do it. They've been calling the wrong number in Dallas.
Man, poor Nico. Davis did play the other day. They won. Then the next night off, didn't play.
Hey, man.
Dude, what a great job in the NBA. Hey, back to back. Yeah, I'm not. Pay me the same, but I'm not playing the next night.
But you got to respect that he came back and played at all, because it sounded like he wasn't going to.
I think at some point in time, somebody said, look, if we do get if we miss the playoffs, we got this one ping pong ball that's got a chance of doing 0 for us. You might as well just go ahead, get in the play in and see what happens. You'll be better off there. When he plays, he is good. Anthony Davis is good. It's just that play thing. It's a problem. It's a problem. The big problem. But when he has played on the court, you're like, oh.
He's good.
Oh. Yeah. That's the problem, though. And look, it's tough. Opening day is tomorrow. You going? Rangers? Red Sox?
No.
You going?
No.
You going?
No, sir. I'm a Braves fan. I'll go see the Braves when they're here in July.
Right.
Braves, man. I grew up on Braves baseball, man. I remember when Dale Murphy was a catcher.
I remember when Dale Murphy was a catcher and he threw it into center field, and his father said, son, they'd have been trying to steal center field. You'd have had him.
Back when Bobby Cox was there the first time. You know, they had Pascual Perez, Bob Horner, Rafael Ramirez, Glenn Hubbard. Man,
I go back to Paul Casanova, Taco Bell, Clete Boyer, Mike Lum, Hank Aaron, Dusty Baker, Ralph Garr, Phil Necro, Buzz Capra.
I go back to the Big Red Machine of the mid-'70s.
I hated them.
Tony Perez and Joe Morgan and Dave Concepcion
Joe
and
Foster.
Pete Rose and Dan Dreesen at first base for a little while, and Raleigh Eastwood coming out the bullpen, and Dan Gullett.
Cesar Geronimo, one of the great names.
That was Houston.
Hell, he was in Cincinnati.
He was in Cincinnati.
Oh, that was the other Caesar in Houston.
You talk about yeah, I know who you're talking about, but he's right about the guy in Cincinnati.
Because you had Ken Griffey on the other side and George Foster in left.
Yeah.
Cedeno. Cesar Cedeno.
Cesar.
That's what I'm thinking about.
Joe Posnanski's book, The Big Red Machine. If you have not read it, it is a fantastic read. It's everything, Joe.
No, I did that because my dad lived in Cincinnati when I was a kid. So we used to go up there every summer. It was all about the Big Red Machine and the Dodgers.
You know what, man?
Braves were just an afterthought. Although I was listening tonight, Pete Rose's 44-game hitting streak ended against the Braves.
Good stuff.
Who was on the mound?
I remember his name, but I can't remember his name. Like, once you tell me, I'll be like, oh, yeah, that guy.
Craig McMurtry.
Craig McMurtry. Boy, I remember. Was it number 37?
Yeah. From Texas kid.
No, I remembered it. As soon as you said it, I remembered it. But I remembered the name, but I couldn't remember it.
And today's kids don't know a darn thing about baseball because they don't want to.
This was a beautiful, organic conversation right here.
Yes, it's Ed Werder, Jock Taylor, I'm Newy Scruggs for Chris Beam, Josh, Jazz. Everybody's a part of it right here, DallasCowboys.com. Thank you for checking out the Media Mash.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!